He lives in the Montparnasse train station. I'm so bad at French. Hello everyone, Scrivener here. Odds are, if you've only seen a few of our videos, you might be laboring under the delusion that Paige and I do not actually like films very much. While it's not an intentional choice, it's true that our videos often tend to the more critical side of critique. Frankly, negative criticism can be a lot of fun to write and consume, but it certainly doesn't mean that we just hate movies. We love them. So let's do something a bit different today. I wanted to go through a few of my favorite films. Some version of this sort of challenge always seems to be going around on social media. Right now it's Twitter. Introduce someone to your taste in movies with 5 titles. As fun as listing off your favorite movies is, I don't think these memes and challenges actually reveal anything about a person, because there are really very few instances in which the title of a film alone can definitively mean something about who a person is. I don't mean that it's not an incredibly personal piece of information or that our favorite films don't reveal anything about who we are. Just that if there isn't any kind of further clarification or explanation offered, it means almost nothing. Everyone is going to bring their own preconceptions about what a film is to the table. Basically, if you don't explain why those are your favorite films, people are going to decide for you. And for better or for worse, they will almost always be incorrect. Those tweets and posts about escaping out the bathroom window if a guy tells you his favorite movie is Fight Club when you're on a date, or that the epitome of basic is a woman who loves any Pride and Prejudice adaptation, are funny enough, and I laugh at them sometimes. But they are still very judgmental and much too simplistic. As if films are just a single look, or a single idea, a single image of a person's self-reflected. The fact is that there are an infinite number of components that go into a piece of art, and people can like those pieces of art for literally any of them, no matter how small. And that doesn't even include the subjective elements a viewer brings to art. Perhaps it was a movie that made your family laugh so hard you had to pause the movie for 10 minutes. Maybe it inspired a hobby you still do today. Maybe you have a limited range, but every song on that soundtrack is perfect for your voice. I want you to know what some of my favorite films are, but more than that, I want you to know why they matter to me. I don't want you to have to resort to psychologizing in your armchairs about why I love this film. You don't have to guess. My reasons are not always lofty. Often they are subjective and messy and silly. I don't want you to think that I'm some perfect objective critic. I'm not trying to trick you into thinking that I am. I have preferences when it comes to stories, and those shape the way I process and analyze art. They are not superior because I like them, they are just the ones I like. And I'm not trying to convince you that my favorite story elements, or my favorite stories, should also be yours. I'm not explaining why I love these films because I'm ashamed and need to find some way to rationalize, to legitimize what I like. I want to share something that brings me joy. Subjective, silly, messy joy. And you never know, you might end up liking some of these too. Without further ado, and in no particular order, here are just 5 of my favorite non-Disney films. I wanted to make it a little more interesting for y'all. You've probably heard of this one. A guy named Peter, played by Jason Segel, whose TV actress girlfriend of 5 years, Sarah Marshall, played by Kristen Bell, dumps him in the first 5 minutes of the movie. He is very, very sad about it, and at the urging of his stepbrother, Bill Hader, he goes on a vacation to Hawaii in an attempt to get over her, only to discover she is not only staying at the same resort, but is with a new guy, played with a perfect level of smarmy obnoxiousness by Russell Brand. There are a lot of things I really love about this movie. It's hilarious. There are tons of lines that just make me smile every time I think about them. It has some very smart and thoughtful things to say about relationships and how they can deteriorate when you stop paying attention to them, and how it's often not quite as simple as just blaming a relationship ending on one person. There's a really lovely subplot with Jack McBrayer and Maria Thayer, who are having trouble on their honeymoon, which ends in a very sweet way. I also love that there are native Hawaiians in this movie. We see them outside of work at the hotel, at places the tourists don't go. This movie is very clear about the fact that actual people live in Hawaii all the time. That they and Hawaii itself exists even when white people are not vacationing among them. This is a movie that Paige and I watched in college together, and it kind of solidified our friendship. Especially when I would have relationship troubles. This is a movie we would watch and Paige would remind me that she was the bill hater, yelling at Peter over the phone to stop making such terrible, impulsive, masochistic decisions.
Go back to your room, Peter. Peter, go back to your room. Go back to your room, Peter. I'm going in.
The weather outside is weather is a line that Paige absolutely loves. It is her favorite joke in the whole movie, and I love the way she laughs whenever she thinks about it. Also, this.
Peter, you suck. Peter, you don't do anything of value. Peter, you suck.
Okay, so this is one you might recognize only because this movie had a twin that was released the same year with a very similar premise. This movie was first. It came out in January, and Friends with Benefits came out in July. Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake star in that movie, and Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman are the stars of No Strings Attached. This is a romantic comedy. It is about Emma Kurtzman and Adam Franklin, who run into each other every couple of years, very When Harry Met Sally. I don't want to give away too much because it's a much more enjoyable movie if some things are left as a surprise for you to discover for yourself. Kevin Kline plays Adam's dad, and he is amazing. What you need to know is that Emma and Adam are two very different people emotionally. They start sleeping together and make a series of rules in order to keep their arrangement casual. And over the course of the film, they quietly break every single rule as they fall in love. This is another movie that Paige and I really love together, though it's not as weighty in our personal history as Forgetting Sarah Marshall is. This is the first thing I ever saw Mindy Kaling in, and I remember being captivated by her. The part she has is not big, but she really gives it her all. The same goes for Guy Branum and Greta Gerwig. This is a romantic comedy that feels fresh and fitting for 2011, and it feels real. There's a lot that I love about the script for this movie, written by Elizabeth Merriweather. There's a lot of detail and world building and character moments and things that really make the movie stand out to me. There's this extra effort put into a movie that, cynically speaking, didn't really need to in order to accomplish watchable rom-com status. And these touches feel lived in. They're not thickly laid on in a painfully obvious attempt to appeal to the youths. It adds up to something fun and interesting and unique. Cary Elwes plays a hot doctor who has no real bearing on the plot, but it's a running joke for Emma's friends to talk about how hot he is, because that's the thing some people do. The dialogue has always stood out to me as very realistic, with the conversations between the characters feeling like ones I would have with my friends. It manages to toe that fine line of realistic but not boring.
Now, you shouldn't have gotten her a balloon, actually. Who do you think you are, the old guy from Up?
You told me to get her a balloon.
Well, I didn't think you'd actually do it. It's a terrible idea.
I especially appreciate the relationships and conversations between the men. Adam's friend group, Ludacris and Jake Johnson, are not sex-obsessed, toxic misogynists that Adam needs to break free from. They're just normal guys. It's not a perfect script. Let me put it this way. If you told me that Merriweather had in fact met a single queer person before she wrote this script, I would be very, 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 very surprised. The film's handling of queer people, of which there are a few, is very clumsy. Set your expectations very low for that. But I love John Debney's score, I love the soundtrack, I love the story, and I love Kevin Kline's hospital monologue at the end.
I may have to kill this dog. I just haven't decided how.
This film is directed by Martin Scorsese. It's an adaptation of a middle grade book called The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. I went into this movie not really knowing anything about it. And once again, I don't want to tell you too much. If you've seen the trailers and posters and think it's a fantastical adventure movie, it is, but there's a bit more to it than that, and it's fun to let that mystery unfold. I would even urge you not to look at the cast list, just go watch it. But it is a historical fiction set in 1930s Paris about a young boy named Hugo Cabret, played by Asa Butterfield, who lives in the Montparnasse train station. It's a beautiful and very sweet story. This is a gorgeous movie in every sense. I have read the book, and while it does enrich the viewing experience, I actually like the movie better. Specifically, I like the dynamic between Hugo and Isabel better. The nature of the story being what it is also means that a film adaptation is probably the most fitting for it. Wow, that was embarrassing. It's a really wonderful and gorgeous cast. Ben Kingsley, Chloe Grace Moritz, Helen McCrory, Richard Griffiths, Jude Law, Emily Mortimer, and Christopher Lee. And now you all understand why I love it so. But this entire movie was very much made for me. I love history, I love mysteries, I love stories, I love movies, and I love happy endings. This is a movie that makes me cry every single time I watch it. I'm tearing up just thinking about it. If the movie has a central idea, it's that art has a positive and immortal impact on people. And that's a very soppy message, and I do not think it would be as effective in this movie if it were beaten into you. I'm sure for some people it feels like it is, but to me, it is a loving portrait of that truth. And that message is made more powerful in ways it couldn't be when it was released, at least for me, because Richard Griffiths and Christopher Lee are in this movie. Two people who had a long, wonderful career as artists, who are no longer with us, but they live on. They will never really be lost, and I think that is the film's true message, that art never dies. Damn it, I knew I was gonna cry. All right. The climax has a touch of ableism, and the final scene is a tad sentimental with its unnecessary closing voiceover, but it's such a wonderful, heartfelt movie. It is so sincere and beautiful, and I love it so much.
Come and dream with me. Just singing in the rain.
What can I even say about this movie, except that I hope you've already seen it? It is a musical set in late 1920s Hollywood, and it's about a movie studio and its actors making the transition from silent films to sound films, or talkies. Our main characters are the movie star Don Lockwood, played by Gene Kelly, his best friend Cosmo Brown, played by Donald O'Connor, and performer and love interest to Don, Kathy Selden, played by Debbie Reynolds. This is a classic musical. The music is wonderful, the dancing is top tier. This is a movie that I have been watching for as long as I can remember. God, I did not understand that Dream Ballet when I was younger, but man, it was really cool. I remember how excited I was to save up and buy the soundtrack CD from Borders, and I remember listening to the songs over and over again. You Were Meant for Me is still such an incredibly romantic scene and song to me. I love that dress, I love Gene Kelly's voice, I love the way he looked at her. It is so good! Something that I really appreciate about it is the dialogue. I think there are a lot of old movies that have very stilted and grandiose speech, and sometimes it can be hard to understand what people are saying. I'm not really talking about the mid-Atlantic affectation, I'm really more talking about the writing. There's nothing wrong with that style of writing, I'm not condemning it, but I do really love that Singin' in the Rain is a solid movie that has dialogue that is funny and witty and accessible, and it is timeless. It has these crisp, bright colors, incredible design, really impressive shots. This would still be an incredible movie if it came out today. I imagine some things would change, but not much would have to.
Audiences everywhere adored us.
What a day.
All right, relative values. It is a movie. While it does have a bit of film flair, it is mostly just a pretty straightforward adaptation of a Noel Coward play. Funnily enough, Relative Values is set in the same year that Singin' in the Rain came out, and it also features a movie star called Dawn. It also has John Debney doing the score, so clearly I like John Debney's music. So, this Earl of a wealthy British family gets engaged to an American movie star, and his mother Felicity, played by Julie Andrews, is not particularly happy about it. Why? Classism! The Earl brings this fiancé home to visit, and it turns out she's the estranged sister of Felicity's longtime maid and companion Moxie, played by Sophie Thompson. Yes, Emma Thompson's younger sister. And as if that weren't enough for entertaining drama, the American movie star's ex-boyfriend, who is also a movie star, wants her back, and he crashes their visit to try and win her back. This character is played by none other than Billy Baldwin, who plays a very similar character in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, an exaggerated, corny actor. I should note that he's playing himself in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. My family discovered this in a $5 bin at Best Buy or something many, many years ago, and we just love it. There's a lot of humor and little quips that you have to be paying attention to really get, which is one of my favorite kinds of humor. If you're one of those people who likes to sit on a bench and people watch at Disney World and, you know, just watch the drama and the tantrums unfold, you will probably enjoy this film a lot. This was the first non-TV thing that Julie Andrews had done in nearly a decade. And then, just a year later, she was in The Princess Diaries. My favorite thing about this whole movie is Colin Firth as Peter, who is Felicity's nephew and the Earl's cousin, and I love him because Peter is me. He is a chaotic gay who, anytime he has the opportunity to stir the pot in this very fraught and ridiculous situation, does so with glee, with gusto. If this were set today, he would be live tweeting it. And I mean, Julie Andrews is great, Sophie Thompson's great, Stephen Fry has a lot of fun as the butler, everyone really commits to the satire. There isn't a lot to this movie, but this is a comfort food watch. It's what I watch when I need something light, when I just need to smile and laugh.
What did he die of so suddenly?
He was run over, my lady. By an army lorry.
I'm sure you can see some similarities across these films. Clearly, I love films with writing that engages me, films that make me laugh, films with messages, films that give a bit of insight into what goes into making film and TV. And hopefully, knowing the kinds of films I like and why I like them has helped you understand my approach a little more. I don't think these are objectively great films. They're just great to me. And they might be completely different for you, and that's okay. Thank you for watching me rant about these weird movies. I want to hear from y'all though. Leave a comment below with a favorite non-Disney film of yours and let me know why you love it, especially if you think the reason is a little silly. We are none of us perfectly smooth and logical beings. If you enjoyed this, be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos, and if you're not already, subscribe for more videos on Disney, intersectional feminism, pop culture critiques, and more. One of us will see you real soon.